Hello students, hope you're all fine. Completed chapter 2, exercise 2C numericals. Okay, so today students we are going to start with the new chapter, that is laws of motion. Okay, see, any object if I talk about, there are two possibilities. Either that object can be in the state of rest or the object can be in the state of motion, right? Now there are certain laws that an object follows, whether it is in the state of rest or it is in the state of motion. Fine. So that is what we are going to actually study in this particular chapter. We're going to talk about the various laws of motion, Newton's first law of motion, second law, third law, all this. Okay. But before we proceed with the same, one more thing very important, that if a body is moving, what causes it to move? Yes, it is the force. So the very first exercise 3A actually talks about the word force. Force is nothing new to you all, right students? Force, what is it? Let's start the chapter now. Force, it is a physical cause which changes the size, shape, state of rest or state of motion of a body. Okay, I repeat, we all know push and pull. In 6th class, what you have studied as force? Force is push or pull applied on an object. I am applying force on a door to open it, to close it, right? So push or pull applied on a body is called force. Okay, force is a physical cause which changes the size, shape, rest, state of rest or state of motion of a given body. This we have already studied in our previous classes. 3 exercises, all the recapitulation of what you have studied in your junior classes, right? Still, I am repeating all the topics so that there is no ambiguity or anything that what ma'am means what and what all we have to prepare, what is there in 9th. So this is the first exercise I am taking. Okay. Now this definition of force is clear. Let's talk about what all a force can do. Yes, that means we will next talk about the effects of force. Yes students, pay attention. See, if you have an inflated ball or a balloon, you apply force on it by putting air into it. What happens? The size of the balloon gets changed, the shape gets changed, right? The ball sizes, shape gets changed. So that's what happens when a force is applied on a body. First, it changes the state of rest or the state of motion of a body. It changes the state. How? The state of rest. For example, there is a ball lying on the floor. You kick it. Force is applied. So, state of rest can be changed. State of motion also can be changed, students. A ball is moving. You put your hand over there. What happens? It stops. So, change of state of motion also can be done. Change in speed while accelerating the car. What happens? Yes, the speed can be changed. Change in size or shape, I have given you the example. Change in direction. Yes, that is also very important. Direction can also be changed. You all must have seen either on TV or live playing football or hockey match. What happens? There is a ball. The players are having hockey sticks. Or when we are talking about football, what happens? Continuously the direction of the ball is changed. How? Obviously by applying force on the ball. So these all are the various effects of force, that what all can a force do. This is clear students. So this was effects of force. Next comes is on what type of body the force acts. There are two types of body, students. Number 1, a rigid body. Number 2, non-rigid body. So pay attention. Yes, force acts on two types of body. First the rigid body, second a non-rigid body. When force acts on a rigid body, it only causes motion in a body. Okay, when force is acting on a rigid body is the one what? In which the dimensions cannot be changed, I can say, or in which we can say the interspacing between the particles that cannot be changed. So when that is the case, only change that can be brought is only it causes motion in the body. Same way, there can be a force which is applied on a non-rigid body too. Non-rigid body is what, students? A body in which the interspacing between the particles that can be changed. So there in that case, two effects we can see. First, it can cause motion in the body. Also, That's why I've written plus. Also, it changes the dimension of the body. Clear, student? So that is what it is. Force, when acts on a rigid body, it only causes motion in the body. When it acts on non-rigid body, it causes motion as well as it changes the dimension of the body. Now, what all we have discussed so far, again I'm repeating the definition of force, effects of force, okay, with the example of each I've explained you. Then also I discussed with you on what type of body, rigid or non-rigid body the force acts and what kind of effect it is giving when it acts on these two types of bodies. Right, student, this part is clear to you all? Fine. Now we are going to understand the next part of this, that is the types of forces. See, the forces can be of two types, students. Okay, the forces can be of two types: contact forces, non-contact forces. This too we have studied in our junior classes, but still once again let's recapitulate and understand it in detail properly. First is contact forces. See, when you're walking on the floor, you're writing on your note in your notebook, is it that actual contact is needed between the two bodies? Actual physical contact is must? Yes. So contact forces are the forces where there is an actual contact, physical contact between the two bodies. Okay, so these kind of forces are called as contact forces, where the two bodies come actually in contact with each other, actually contact, or I can say there is a physical contact between the two bodies. For example, while we are writing on the board, when we are walking on the ground, in all these actions we need to have an actual contact, physical contact with the surface of the two bodies, right? Now what are the examples? The first one just now explained, that is the frictional force. Students, pay attention here. Contact force can be of 5 types. You can see it on your screen, I guess. Yes, 5 types of contact force we can have. First is frictional force. Frictional force. While writing, while walking, friction is must. Can you walk on a smooth surface without friction? No. So friction is must. So frictional force is needed. So that is an example of, yes, it is an example of contact forces. Normal. Next comes tension force. 5 are there as I told you. Second is tension force. For example, there is a string, okay, a thread, and you tied a heavy stone at the bottom of it, and then it is placed with a star. What happens? There is a force which is acting on that string, that thread, which is called as the tension force, right? So that is force due to tension. Next is normal reaction force. When you have kept your book on the table, there is some weight of the book. That weight is acting where? Upward or downward? Always it will act downward. So that weight is acting in the downward direction, but still the table is able to balance it. That means there is an opposite reaction force which is acting perpendicular. Normal means, I explained you this word normal in previous chapter also. Normal means perpendicular. So when perpendicularly the force is acting, normal reaction force is the force which acts when a body is kept over the surface of another. In this case, what will happen when book is kept on the table, students? Yes, the weight of the book is acting downwards and the normal reaction force is balancing that in the upward direction. Next is the restoring force in a spring. You all have seen a spring? Yeah. What happens when you compress it? Yes, its size reduces, it becomes smaller, right? Release it, what happens? Yes, it regains its original size and shape. This is called restoring force. Restoring whatever was its actual size or shape, that spring regained it, it came back into the same. So restoring force is the force due to which the spring comes back after releasing it, after the force has acted on the body. That is called as restoring force. The body regains its original size and shape. Okay. Last is force due to collision. For example, there are two balls, they collide with each other. What will happen? Again, force will act between the two bodies. Okay. When you clap like this, the two hands collide with each other. What happens? The force is acting due to collision. Yes. So again, this force requires actual contact between the two bodies. Clear, student? So these are all the 5 examples of contact forces. Let me next move to non-contact forces too. What are non-contact forces? The opposite of contact forces. Their actual physical contact was needed between the bodies. These are the forces which act without any actual contact, or we can say these are the forces which act through a distance. You all have seen a magnet. What happens? Is it that you need to touch the iron object with it and then the magnetic force you can feel? No. You can feel that magnetic force through a distance also. In class 8, if you remember, I discussed the electrostatic force also with you. Charged bodies, right? If on your dry hairs you rub a comb and then you bring it nearby close, you bring it closer to the bits of paper, what happens? It starts, these bits of paper start they get cling to the comb. What happens? They get stick to it because there is electrostatic, there is charge being developed on the comb due to rubbing on dry hairs, right? So that is electrostatic force. Clear? Like charges repel each other, unlike charges attract. So that is what the property of electrostatic force is. It can be attractive when the two bodies are having unlike charges, and it can be repulsive when the two bodies are having like charges. Next is magnetic force. Just now I explained you with the example. Okay, it again acts through a certain distance. It's not compulsory for the two bodies to actually come in contact with each other. Through a distance also I can start feeling that force between the magnet and the iron article. So magnetic force, again there is a property. Remember, like poles repel each other and unlike poles attract each other. There is one more. There are 3 types of non-contact forces, students, and the third one is very, very important. Why am I saying it is very, very important? The rest 2 are also important. There is a reason, because the third one is gravitational force, which is always attractive in nature. Okay, if there is a ball being dropped from a certain height, is there any possibility for it to just go upwards? No, it will always fall in the downward direction, and the force which is acting on that freely falling body, that is the gravitational force. It is always attractive between any two bodies in the universe. Students, let me tell you, there is a force which acts, and that force is always attractive in nature, called as gravitational force. So the very first property I have written here is for gravitational force, it is always attractive. So it comes as a short question. Examiner asks you in the board exams. Yes, they might ask you, name that non-contact force which is always attractive in nature. See, electrostatic, attractive as well as repulsive, I have told you the condition. Magnetic also the same, I have told you the condition. But gravitational, remember, it will always be attractive in nature. Next is, how is it dependent on the distance between the bodies? Yes, it is inversely proportional to. Why inversely? Because 1 upon I have written. Inversely is 1 upon. So force, this gravitational force is inversely proportional to square of the distance. The gravitational force is inversely proportional to square of the distance between the two bodies. Now what do you mean by that? Let's understand. Say there is a case where I say that the distance is halved between the two bodies. What will happen if the distance is halved between two bodies? Yes, if the distance is halved between two bodies, square of that 4. So 1 by 4, that means the force then becomes 1 upon 1 by 4. Reciprocal it will be, which will be 4 times. So this is what we need to take care of, because whatever we are getting, distance is halved, half square is 1 by 4, 1 by 4 is in denominator, so reciprocal will take, and we get the force will then become 4 times. Clear, students? These type of reasoning question, these type of short questions are always there in your exam, so must prepare it very carefully. Okay, now what is to be done? That must be the question. Ma'am, 3 exercise all is explained. What is to be done? Students, you can see it on your screen. I'll be sharing this particular notes form as it is to you people. You have to maintain the same in your register. No single question to be done from exercise 3A in your register. No single note extra to be written. only this particular as it is the flow chart, and every important point that I have written as it is must be there in your register. See, this way it will be easy for you to recapitulate and link up all the content that are there in exercise 3. Okay, so this is complete exercise 3 as it is. I want in your register, nothing else from either book as an exercise question answer or any other notes. But again, at the same time, let me tell you, you have to do book reading word to word, which is always important. Okay, now we are going to move to the next part, because this was all introductory, it was all already done in your previous junior classes. So today we are going to continue with this part where we are going to talk about the term inertia. Students, pay attention here, because this is a very, very interesting and important term. When I say inertia, see, even if you don't know the inertia, you all have this application already you have used in your daily life. Let me ask you an example. Say you have a football and you have a small tennis ball. Both are coming towards you and they are in motion, that means, right? So which one you can stop easily by very less amount of force? Yes, the tennis ball. It is difficult to stop that moving football rather than the moving tennis ball. Why? Because the weight, the mass of the tennis ball is less. So that is what the property of inertia says. It is a property of an object due to which it neither changes its state nor tends to change the state. Okay, it will try to resist the change. Inertia is that property, inherent property of a body due to which it resists the change in its initial state, whether it is the state of rest or the state of motion. Okay, so basic idea, inertia you all have understood. It is a property of an object due to which it neither changes its state nor tends to change the state. That means if the body is in the state of rest, it will try to remain in the state of rest. If the body is in the state of motion, it will try to remain in the state of motion. That's what you mean by inertia. Clear, students? Now, what are the two types of inertia? No need to think. We know a body can be either in the state of rest or in the state of motion. So depending upon that, we can have two types of inertia. Inertia of rest and inertia of motion. What do you mean by inertia of rest? If the body is initially in state of rest, it will remain in the state of rest. If the body is moving initially, it will remain in motion or it will remain moving. So that's what the inertia of rest and inertia of motion. Now, on which factor it depends? I have already told you, you only were able to crack it out that it depends on mass. How it depends? Again, directly proportional. I gave you one example just now. Inertia is directly proportional to mass. Students, there is no other factor on which inertia depends. So no confusion, this was a board question and then students made it wrong, because there is no other option. There is only one factor on which it depends, that is mass. Fine. So no ambiguity about that. Inertia is directly proportional to mass. Directly proportional means more is the mass, more is the inertia. So this is the reason it is difficult to stop a cricket ball, moving cricket ball, than a tennis ball. Okay. Now if you all like playing sports, while taking a long jump, tell me students, what do? Is it that you directly take a big jump? No. What will happen if you will take directly the jump, long jump if you will try to take? What will happen? Yes, you will cover a shorter distance. So what do you prefer to do? You must have seen the athletes. They take a small run before that and then they take a jump. Why? Because by doing so, they bring their body, that is called as warm-up basically. But in physics, what we call it as, that the athlete is actually trying to bring his body in initially in the state of motion, so that the moment he will take a jump, his body will still remain in motion and he will cover some extra distance which will help him to take a longer lap. Fine. So we have more examples given in a book. I want you all to go through all the examples of inertia of rest and inertia of motion. In the next class, I'll take the exercise question answers of exercise 3B, because that will be helpful for you to complete the question answers also and at the same time understanding the concept. But before that, I want you to do 3B exercise. So solve all the solved examples which are given in your book, already answered all examples of inertia of rest and inertia of motion. Just give it a rough reading, students. Okay, so that is must. We will continue with the same in the next class. Till then, this notes which I am providing you all must be written as it is. All the notes that I am providing you people, these all must be written as it is. This I'll be sharing with you all. This is to be made as it is in your register. So written part I have reduced for you all, only this much, right? But then at the same time, 3B exercise question answers tomorrow I'll be discussing. I'll be telling you what all is to be done from 3B. Same must be done from 3A. This much is enough. So this should be there in your register as it is. Okay, revise and understand better. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you, students.